Let me ask you how key this summit is, because obviously the Chinese market turmoil was jarring, but it seems like it's calmed down, and all signs I get from the White House are that they want this to be amicable and they want to try and work through these problems. They're not sort of lobbing any insult grenades at the Chinese.
It's important, but not because the Chinese market volatility. It's important because the U.S. and Chinese relationship is getting worse on a bunch of factors. It is, of course, the cyber issue that you just spoke of. It's certainly issues of Chinese military buildup. It's American companies having a harder time doing business in China for many of the big boys, and it's even Taiwan. And in the context of this, you have Xi Jinping and Obama for different reasons that would like to actually show that things are still fine, this relationship is being managed.
Well, you just sort of painted a picture of our issues with China, right? What about, doesn't China have issues with us?
Well, sure, but, you know, China's issues with us are more that we will not accept a rising China. So the Chinese come after the Americans and they steal the classified data on 20 million Americans to the Office of Personnel Management. The Chinese perspective is, look, you guys have been doing this against us for decades, and you just don't like parity. And that's true. I mean, we used to have nuclear weapons all by ourselves. We didn't want the Soviets developing nuclear weapons, God forbid. We have a hard time with the concept of parity, certainly from a country like China that doesn't accept democracy or a free market. And so China's concern with us is much more structural. It's much less about individual issues and the fact that they don't feel like they are accorded a seat at the table. Keep in mind, you know, we've got the IMF and these organizations that we've created. They have the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Not only did we not join, we told all of our allies, don't join it.
And they did it anyway.
And they did it anyway. So the Chinese absolutely understand that they're going to have to fight and claw to be afforded a level of respect by the Americans. It's a much more fundamental issue.
You wrote in your most recent note this week that a failed visit on the economic theft issue sets off an escalatory?
Escalatory. Yes.
One of those words I can't say. Spiral. What does that mean?
It means that the likelihood that we know that we need the Chinese economically, they need us too, right? Massive trade partners and export and import, and they hold a lot of our treasuries and all this sort of stuff. At the same time, you've heard many in the United States, including those running for president, saying that we should be sanctioning the Chinese for all the stuff they're ripping off of American firms. And so if this breaks down, you're going to see tit-for-tat sanctioning. And keep in mind, when we said we were thinking about sanctioning the Chinese for their attacks on American firms, their immediate response was, we're going to organize a technology summit in Washington State, the one that matters a lot for your economy. We're going to organize all of the American tech companies. They're going to come. They're going to say how important China is. This big problem for the United States government is that we don't do industrial policy. When we tell our companies to do stuff, our companies say, well, actually, we'd really like to make a lot of money from China. In fact, it's our fiduciary responsibility. We have shareholders. If you're the Chinese government, you tell Chinese companies to do something, they listen.
Right.
I mean, this is a country, we're getting rid of Exim Bank, right? And you've got GE saying, if you persist with this, we're actually going to take workers on turbines, we're going to move them abroad. And you've got members of Congress saying, what do we need Exim Bank for? This is supposed to be a free market. Well, it's only a free market if all the countries in the world actually adhere to those rules, not just the Americans. So this is a real challenge for U.S.-China relations.
The bottom line is it could start a trade war if things go poorly.
A bottom line is we've been in an environment where the United States and China are not friends, they're not enemies, they're frenemies. And they've been largely more antagonistic on the security front and largely more cooperative on the economic front. The real question from this summit is we're going to start tipping towards one where we're also more antagonistic on the economic front. Obama and Xi Jinping don't want to see that happen, and yet the story, the baseline direction of both of these countries and economies is moving in a more confrontational way.